What trusts can do in an aging society. Thank you for viewing these materials. I would like to talk about the role of trusts in an aging society, with my discussion mainly geared towards university students. First, I would like to explain one example of how the trust mechanism is used, and that is in charitable trusts. A charitable trust is a system in which an individual entrusts assets to a trust bank for the purpose of public interest activities, or a corporation seeks to return part of its profits to society. The trust bank invests and manages the assets in accordance with the public interest purposes set forth in the charitable trust contract and conducts public interest activities. One of the areas in which public trusts are utilized is the provision of scholarships, which is a familiar example to university students. This is merely one of the uses among a wide range of other fields. In this chart, the individual providing the assets are shown as customers, and the recipients of the charity, say the recipient of scholarships, are shown as recipients, benefactors, on the left. I would like to explain another example of a different type of trust in use, educational funding trusts. The Educational Funding Trust was established based on special tax measures aimed at revitalizing consumption and enhancing human resource development through the transfer of assets held by senior citizens across generations. In the case of an educational funding trust, when, for example, a grandparent entrusts money or other assets to a trust bank as educational funding for grandchildren, the funds will be exempt from gift tax up to 15 million yen. In this figure, grandparents who gift funds through trust banks are shown on the left as trusters, and grandchildren who receive gifts are shown on the right as beneficiaries. The data on this page shows the changes in the percentage of the population in Japan's aging demographic for the past and future. The data was taken from the National Institute of Population and Social Security Research, Population Projections for Japan 2017. This shows that the percentage of the elderly population aged 65 and over has been on an upward trend and is expected to increase in the future. In contrast, the percentage of the working age population aged 15 to 64 is on a downward trend, and the percentage of young people who will be employed in the future is also on a downward trend. I think you can see that the aging of society is expected to continue in the future. The materials on this page shows the state of longevity in Japan. The table on the left was prepared by the Research Department of Sumitomo Mitsui Trust Bank based on the life tables of the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare. The table on the right compares the change in survival rates between 1947 and 2017 from the simplified life table issued by the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare in 2017. Survival refers to the extent to which people survive at each age, with half of the survivors, 50%, at median life expectancy. Median life expectancy is a little longer than average life expectancy. Those who were born around 1947, after World War II, gave birth to more children known as baby boomers, but around this time, the median life expectancy was 62 years. In 2017, 70 years after that, the median life expectancy was 87 years. 70 years ago, human life was generally considered to be 60 years in length. Now, however, 1 out of 2 people will live until the age of 87. The age of the 100-year lifespan is by no means far off. The materials on this page were prepared by the Cabinet Office based on the results of a study led by Professor Toshiharu Ninomiya of Kyushu University on the estimation of the number of patients with dementia over 65 years of age and the future prevalence of dementia. The information was published in the White Paper on the Aging Society in 2016. The bar graph is an estimate of the number of patients with dementia when the prevalence of dementia in each age group is constant and rises. The line graph is an estimate of the prevalence of dementia in each age group. According to this figure, the number of people suffering from dementia was approximately 4.62 million in 2012, but it is expected to increase to approximately 8 million by 2040. The materials on this page show the financial uncertainty of the elderly and are based on the Survey Results of the Economic Lives of the Elderly summary version by the Cabinet Office in 2019. About 64% of elderly people report being financially insecure. The largest breakdown is for future living expenses, medical and nursing care expenses, and expenses accompanying moving homes or moving into nursing homes for the elderly. In addition, there are concerns about estate management due to dementia and other factors and concern about inheritance following one's death. This document was reproduced and partially modified from the report compiled by the Advisory Council, a market working group established under the Financial Services Agency's Financial Services Council. The horizontal axis of the data indicates the age from left to right over time, and the vertical axis indicates wealth. What measures should be taken to address the economic and property management concerns and issues associated with longevity? From the left side, this issue is broken down into the working period, the period around retirement, and the old age period. Speaking from the point of asset formation, the first point to consider is that the working period is important. It is important for people in this category to consider a money plan that is appropriate for them, recognize the effectiveness of asset formation at an early stage, and work on stable asset formation, which includes long-term, compounding, and diverse investments, even in small monetary amounts. Making use of national tax incentives, which support asset formation of individuals, such as Tsumitate NISA and iDeco, is the response for the working period. There are several topics which need to be considered for people around the age of 60 or the period around retirement. During this period, one's economic situation changes dramatically, accompanying the loss of income from work and the receipt of retirement allowances. In addition to securing income by continuing to work and reviewing one's expenditures, it is also important during this time to reconsider future money plans, including asset management and expenditures. Assets accumulated up to this point in life will support the future economic life of the individual in his or her old age. Therefore, in addition to extending the life and investment terms of assets through continued asset management, it is also important to consider the expenditure of these assets in a planned manner. Finally, in the old age period, it is necessary to prepare for future mental and physical deterioration, as well as deterioration or loss of cognitive and judgment abilities. In response to the challenges faced by an aging society as we have just discussed, I would next like to talk about the role of trusts from here. This page presents the framework of securities investment trusts as one of the mechanisms for asset formation and management. Securities investment trusts are a financial product in which funds collected from many investors are pooled together and managed by professional investment trust management agencies in domestic and overseas securities and financial markets, and the results are passed on to investors. Trust banks conclude trust contracts with investment trust management companies and safely store and manage funds collected from investors as trust assets. Additionally, as a distributor of investment trusts, trust banks provide consultation on asset management for investors. This section presents the mechanism of defined benefit corporate pension plans as the second mechanism for asset formation and management. A defined benefit corporate pension plan is a type of private pension plan established by a company for the benefit of employees. There are two types of such pension plans: a contract type pension plan and a fund type pension plan. Under either type of plan, the company makes contributions to the company's benefit plan to an external entity and then manages and invests these funds as pension assets and provides a fixed payout amount based on the company's pension rules and regulations as either a pension or lump sum retirement benefit to retired employees. In this figure, employees and retirees are referred to as members and beneficiaries. In the unlikely event that a company goes bankrupt, it will be possible to secure the pension funds in preparation for the retirement of employees outside the company. As the entrusted organization, trust banks are in charge of the management and investment of pension assets and the payout of pension benefits. This section describes the mechanism of defined contribution pension plans as the third mechanism for asset formation and management. The defined benefit corporate pension plan mentioned earlier was a system in which the amount of benefits to be received by employees and retirees was fixed, but in defined contribution pension plans, the total contribution amount which constitutes the funding for the pension plan is determined in advance. The amount of pension and lump sum benefits to be received by employees and retirees in the future varies according to the actual financial performance of each individual, and in this type of plan, assets are managed directly by each member, i.e., employee, at his or her own discretion. There are two types of this plan: a corporate type, in which the company adopts a plan and makes contributions, and an individual type, in which an individual participates voluntarily and makes his or her own contributions. As the entity in charge of asset management, trust banks carry the role of managing pension assets and distributing payments as indicated on the middle left-hand section of this slide. Additionally, as indicated in the lower right-hand section, trust banks are also responsible for selecting investment products and disclosing and providing necessary information as the administrative organization. In this section, I would like to talk about the trust mechanism to deal with decline in decision-making ability accompanying the aging of society. This page shows the functions of Sumitomo Mitsui Trust Bank's product, the 100-year passport. Designated money trust with special conditions refers to a trust product with a principal loss replacement agreement that securely invests money entrusted by the customer into a designated investment target, to which a certain special clause is attached in preparation for potential future decline in decision-making ability. This special clause allows for the provision of 4 functions. The first function is to receive periodic payments by withdrawing funds during one's healthy years in a pension-type manner. The second function is a crime and scam prevention safety feature, which allows the customer to designate ahead of time a person who will authorize payments. The third function is a payment function that allows the customer to pre-designate an individual who will act on his or her behalf for payment procedures in preparation for concerns about health or dementia. The fourth function is the caring inheritance function, whereby funds are smoothly delivered to previously designated heirs and others after the occurrence of inheritance and before deliberation on the division of estate take place. Concerns of decline in decision-making ability can particularly be addressed through the third payment function. In this section, I would like to talk about guardian support trusts as another mechanism for dealing with decline in decision-making ability. This trust is also a type of designated money trust with special conditions such as explained on the previous page. However, its unique point can be seen in the bottom left corner of this slide where it mentions family court. A guardian system support trust is a trust used when one's ability to make decisions decreases and guardianship by a family member, attorney, or other specialist becomes necessary. The asset and estate of the ward, in other words, the person in need of guardianship, is entrusted to a trust bank or other entity, and this trust system allows for payments to be made only towards certain limited purposes, such as the living expenses of the ward. The procedures for concluding a trust contract, issuing a lump sum payment, changing the trust, and canceling the trust are conducted in accordance with family court documentation, and due to this, it is possible to safely secure the savings and other assets of the ward with the involvement of the family court. In this section, I would like to talk about other functions of trust banks used for inheritance-related matters, which are often a source of financial anxiety for the elderly. The first is testamentary trusts. In a testamentary trust, a trust bank undertakes the procedures for inheritance from consultation on the preparation of a will to custody and execution of the will. In addition to specifying specific methods for the division of inherited property, a will can also be made to include donations to public organizations or family temples. Finally, I would like to talk about testamentary substitute trusts as a second way to pass on assets to the next generation. In lieu of a will, as mentioned previously, in a testamentary substitute trust, the entrusted property is paid to the previously designated family members upon inheritance taking place in accordance with the trust agreement. Ordinarily, it is not possible to make withdrawals from the deceased's funds without going through inheritance procedures. However, by utilizing this type of trust, it is possible to provide funds that can be used immediately to deal with urgent events such as unexpected expenditures and funeral costs. Today, I have spoken on the topic of what trusts can do in an aging society. I believe in the future, we can expect to see trusts utilized more and more as a solution to social issues relating to assets. I hope that by listening to my explanation of these topics today, you have developed a newfound interest in the world of trusts. Thank you for your attention today.